A tragedy that still remains unsolved: the murder of Stacey Colbert. Colbert went missing in 1998. Her skeletal remains were found in Delaware County 6 years later.
On November 27, 2004, a hunter looking for his lost dog in a wood line near the Scioto River on State Route 257 North in Delaware County, Ohio, discovered human remains. Those remains would later be identified as 24-year-old Stacey Colbert. This is episode 6, A Voice Silenced. Unfortunately, because of the state of Stacey's remains, the coroner was unable to identify the cause of her death. There is speculation about how long Stacey's remains were in that area, and if they were placed there at a later date following her disappearance. But detectives on her case believe her remains had been in the same place until she was found.
I had hope for the longest time, even before her remains were found, and you have student loans calling you, and my mom and I went to the court system to try to at least have some bit of closure after the 5-6 year mark. And right after we did that, not probably 6 or 7 months later, her remains were found. It was pretty surreal. But I do believe that she was in the same place that she was the entire time. I don't believe she was moved. I believe it happened right away, and she just wasn't found.
After 6 years of not knowing what happened to Stacey, her family could finally bring her home and lay her to rest. After all these years, Stacey was finally found. But what about all the unanswered questions? What happened to Stacey, and who was responsible for taking this precious life?
When I found out what had happened to Stacey, at first, of course, I thought it had to have been a misunderstanding. Stacey led a really clean life. She didn't have any kind of secret, seedy life that nobody knew about. That's just, no. With Stacey, what you saw was what you got. And so I thought, surely this will be cleared up. And then as it became obvious that it was not a misunderstanding and it was something really, really bad, I can remember the night terrors where I would wake up in the middle of the night to sitting straight up, and what woke me up was the sound of my own voice screaming. I am no longer 24 years old. I am nearly 50 years old, and I am a lot smarter and a lot wiser. And I'm really, really determined to make sure that this monster gets behind bars.
A monster was lurking out in plain sight and was free to hurt other women. It's now been 20 years since Stacey's remains were found, 26 years since she disappeared, and this monster is still out there, prowling on his next potential victim. This is unacceptable. This person needs to be held accountable for his actions. I got the opportunity to briefly talk to the current detective on Stacey's case to find out what the status is today.
People have ideas and theories, and we haven't overlooked any of them yet. As the years go on, it's always in our best interest to, reevaluate where we're at with cold cases, and you never want to let the same individuals continually try to work cold cases. Every 5 years or so, you want to change it up a little bit so we can get a fresh set of eyes on things. So we're back at that place again for this case where, some new detectives are going to be assigned now. I think we've solved every homicide we've had since May 5th of 2007 has been solved. We have probably about 10 to 15 unsolved ones from years prior to that we're still, we still continue to want to look at. We've solved one with genealogy, DNA. Actually two. We just solved another one. So we've solved two using Parabon Labs and genealogy. And again, that's based on having a good solid DNA, unknown DNA sample that they use, and then they do some genealogy testing on and are able to identify families and so we've been successful in two of our cold cases now. So we're out there trying to solve these things. So I never want the family to lose hope. And they have that saying that they want to finish Stacey's fight. We want to finish the fight with them. And so that's what we're trying to do.
I think they're really, really close to being able to take it through the legal system. And so her sorority sisters and I started the GoFundMe thinking that maybe possibly if we can get a private investigator, maybe that will help us get them the additional evidence that they need to push it through. But I truly believe that the police know who did it, and I believe that right now they're just waiting for a little bit of collaboration on what they have in order to get it through the legal standard of proof.
Here's the thing. The police already know who's responsible for Stacey's murder. We went through all the details of this case, and the answers are right there. What is the motive, though? This would again be all speculation, but what I can draw from the facts of this case after months of thoroughly researching and investigating is that it seems to be a crime of passion. Someone who wanted more from Stacey than what she was willing to give. Someone who was only a friendly acquaintance in Stacey's eyes and nothing more. Someone who showed up to Stacey's apartment in the early morning hours of March 22nd, 1998, and was invited in by Stacey. I'll let you draw your own conclusion about the killer and who he is. It's obvious in my opinion, but the police need certain individuals to come forward to be able to successfully bring this case to trial and get this monster convicted. Is that person you? There is someone out there that knows who killed Stacey Colbert. That person can be the final piece to the puzzle of Stacey's story. The final piece that can provide the full picture for Stacey's friends and family. The final piece that can bring the killer to justice. Stacey's story is not over. She will continue to live on in the hearts of her family, friends, coworkers, and those that never knew her but continue to be touched by her story. Stacey Colbert was a beautiful person inside and out, and it's a tragedy that her life was taken from her in such a brutal manner by someone she knew and trusted.
Too late to save Stacey. We can't go back in time and tell her what we know now, but it's not too late to save somebody else. And that's really one of the driving forces behind finishing Stacey's fight. We've got a big team behind the scenes of finishing Stacey's fight. And then, of course, there are the really close friends of Stacey who are doing other things outside of finishing Stacey's fight to keep Stacey's name and her case out there and to keep people aware and in the collective consciousness of the public so that it doesn't fade away from view and become just another, case that's just sitting somewhere in a police dungeon collecting dust. Like, we want to make sure that we're doing what needs to be done to keep her case up front.
I wish you were here. I miss you. I'll continue to fight for you every day.
With new advancements in DNA technology, detectives continue to get closer to confirming the identity of Stacey's killer. It's only a matter of time before Stacey's killer is behind bars. And we're all looking forward to that day. If you have any information about the murder of Stacey Colbert, please contact the Delaware County, Ohio Detective Bureau at 740-833-2830. You can also submit an anonymous tip via email, which is provided in the show notes below. To stay connected on Stacey's case, follow Finishing Stacey's Fight on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And make sure to connect with me on Facebook and Instagram at Unseen Truth Podcast and visit unseentruthpodcast.com for more case information and future updates.